Angie, friendly neighborhood dietitian, here to do a little bit of cooking demonstration. I always say in my cooking groups, I don't want to pre-prep anything because this isn't a cooking show. We're going to do a real cook. Well, no, it is a cooking show, so I've prepped some stuff. And at this point, if you've got a can of chickpeas and an egg, you can make what we're making. And I'm going to talk about all the different variations and other things that you can make as well. Today, we're going to make chickpea burgers. Sounds weird. Sounds weird, and they are weird, but they're also wonderful and quite delicious. It's one of those recipes that you wouldn't be going through a cookbook and go, that sounds really good. But when you try them, you will really like them. Versatile, cheap, easy. So first thing you want to do is drain your chickpeas, give them a good rinse. And then what I've got here is I've got a little pie plate and a pastry blender. You can use a fork. You can put it in an actual blender or food processor if you have one, but you certainly don't need one. I've done little bits at a time because they are kind of roly-poly and they get away from you and you really do need to chop them up. The smoother you want it, the more you want to do this. I like to have little chunks in there, so I do mine quite coarse. And I will say, through the magic of TV, I've done that for maybe 30 seconds. Oh, but there's already a whole can of chickpeas finished for me. So I'm just gonna put these together with the other ones and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. And then we're gonna add all of our stuff. So that's like a chickpea meal is what I would call that. It calls for an egg. That's gonna bind those things together, hold that into a burger shape for us. Over on this side, I picked some of my green onions out of the garden this morning. Really excited about that. It calls for 4 green onions. If you don't have green onions, I've done this with regular onions. If you don't have onions at all, you can leave them out. I like to add garlic. You guys know I like to add garlic. This recipe doesn't call for garlic. I've still got my big jar of garlic. We're gonna put some in, can't be bad. I've also in a pinch used onion flakes. So this is just dehydrated onion. And if you get that in the egg there, soak them up, you still get a really nice onion flavor. 2 tablespoons of flour. That's one of the binders that holds them together. If you don't have it, they just don't hold together as well. It really doesn't change anything. I will also say at this point, if you didn't have the egg and you didn't have this stuff, but you had the chickpeas, this makes a really tasty vegetarian egg salad kind of mixture. Once you mash them up and mix that up for an egg salad. Calls for a little bit of oregano and a little bit of cumin. Let's say I don't have spices at my house or I don't have those spices. I would put in some salsa. Or I would put in, how much of this does it call for? Oh, not very much. I might put more than it says in. I will post this recipe below so you guys can follow it. Those of you who have been in my kitchen before know that this is one of my favorites, and this is how I start to introduce chickpeas as something different and actually quite versatile and tasty. So I'm just gonna mix that up as best that I can. All right, it does come together. You got to give it a little bit of time. There's only 1 egg in there. If you wanted, you could add a 2nd egg. It really would bind it together quickly. This recipe says it makes 4. Those are big. I don't know that I would, I don't know. I guess if you've got big buns, you might want to have big burgers. I will sometimes make these into little pucks, like little falafels, and then freeze them, so that I've always got some, which is really helpful when you've got 1 vegetarian in the household and everybody else eats meat. So the best way for me to do this is I'm gonna cut that in half. I've made a little ball and then I've cut it into quarters. That gives me roughly the same size. I should have had this preheated. I've never done this before, you know. Roughly the same size burger. Now I'm going to tell you, this is where it gets messy. So I'm gonna have a little plate and I'm gonna make these into burgers. So if you have a little burger press, fancy, absolutely, you can do that. I'm just squishing it, not enough that I'm gonna get juices coming out, but I'm encouraging all those little bits to stick together. I'm gonna kind of pat it down into a patty. Ooh, pretty. That's gonna be my burger. If I had wraps at home, I could make these into tiny little pucks and then still have the same thing. The recipe also has a really delightful sauce. I would highly recommend making it. It's a yogurt base, or if you wanted to make a tzatziki, very tasty. But you can also just treat these as though they're burgers and just top it like you would. Mustard, ketchup, relish, whatever you like. Onions, something like that. Very tasty stuff. Now my plate isn't big enough for my fourth burger. Smells good. You guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. And this one's just a little smaller, which there's always somebody who wants one that's just a little smaller. How do I tell? Okay, so I'm gonna go off camera and wash my hands. I didn't plan this. Give me a second. I'm still here, and I'm still heating up my oil. Now I will also say I have a decent amount of oil in the bottom of this pan. I don't just have a little bit. I wanted to make sure that it gets crispy. So I want a good amount of hot oil. So I'm going to take a little bit of that dough or patty. I'm going to put it in there so that when it starts to sizzle, then I know it's ready to go. So I'm going to cook these up, and then I can either freeze these now and cook them later, or I can cook them up and then freeze them and then pull them out. This size, you could even put those in the toaster oven or the toaster. Might need a couple of times down the toaster. Actually, as I think about that, you might want to put it in the wrap to keep it together as well. But toaster oven or in the oven or in the microwave. So this is starting to sizzle away now. This is the tricky part. I'm actually going to use my spatula so they keep their shape. I'm going to get them right in to my bubbling oil. You won't be able to hear the sizzle because the kitchen really is a loud place with the fridge and the stove and the freezer and the heater. It's weird to be in here just by myself and not to have you guys here. I can't wait for the day we get to come back. I'm gonna pick this up and I'm gonna show you the sizzle and see if you can see it. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, baby. Look at that. So I'm gonna let them sit in there for a decent amount of time because I really want them to be crispy. I really like my chickpea burger to have crisp on the outside because it's not as dense as meat. And I don't want it to be a mush burger. So you get one flip, folks. Don't flip these around over and over again. They'll lose their integrity. Then you'll have chickpea mash, which what a fun recipe that could be as well. You could make lots of different things out of that. If I really wanted to make sure that this was more of a burger substitute, I wouldn't spice it in this way. I might put some barbecue sauce in there. Which would help bind it a little bit, give it some smoky flavor, maybe even a little paprika, a little bit of hot sauce if I'm feeling a little bit sassy. That really could make a difference. And once I flip these, I'm going to let you see how brown I get them, and then you can decide how that would go. Open to questions, open to comments. Please let us know. I'm planning on trying to do a couple of these, see what you guys think. Happy to have suggestions about ingredients that you want me to include or recipes that you'd like to try. There's only a few I probably wouldn't do because of time. Most of the recipes I do, I try to make them cheap and cheerful and fast so that they're tasty, but you're not in the kitchen for 100 years. All right, let me see. This is gonna go. Needs a little bit more time. Oh, that looks so nice. I'm gonna let you see that instead of just watching me because I know I'm nice to watch, but look at that. Oh, I love it. When I get my own cooking show, I'm gonna have a camera up there that just does that all the time. I think it will be cool. Now I can't hold it and flip it, so I'm gonna have to put it down again. All right, here we go. What's the first one? Away from me because this is going to be splashy. So I'm going to try to go away from me. So I'm going to show you that. That will hold together and that will be a little bit crisp. Where is it? There. There's the one that's flipped. It's not as brown as I would like. So I'm going to keep the other ones going. Once they're as brown as I like, I'm going to let you go because you can see what they'll look like and you can figure out how to, on a wrap, in a burger, just as a patty, on top of a salad. There's 1,000 ways to eat these and they're really, really, really tasty. This canned chickpeas cost me 98 cents, right? An egg, if you cost them out per egg, I think it's 11 cents, 9 to 11 cents for an egg. I make 4 burgers, big ones. That's a really inexpensive situation. And if I can get some sauce made, I just don't have the yogurt today, makes a big difference for the other things that I could buy and the other things that I need. Oh, fatality, it folded. So what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you what it looks like because it really did fold and make a big mess. And then what you can't do with burgers is I'm going to flip that over and I'm going to squish them together so it holds back together. Oh, look at that. That's a whole burger. Nobody needs to know that that's what happened. Totally. Where is it there? There we go. Totally a whole burger again. I'm going to let those go a little longer and I'm going to flip them. Once they're flipped, they're about 3/4 cooked, so you don't need to have them cooked for as long on the other side. I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you try it. I'm thinking of some other things that we can do, maybe do some interactive videos, have me live sometimes. Also thinking maybe if people are interested, we could have like a let's do something together video, pick up the kit of the ingredients, and then we'll do it together on video. If you think that's interesting, please let me know. Phone me, email me, comment below. It's just ideas that I've got because I want to be in here cooking. I want to help. I want to, I miss cooking classes really a lot. And if that is something that you guys would want, I'm happy to do it. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to do one more flip. See if I can get it where I need it. Oh, baby, that's the winner. Look at that. That's what I like. Enjoy, you guys. I hope you try it. This is my supper, and I'm really excited. Take care.